evening. We will start the Environmental Justice Advisory Group meeting. We are meeting in person, but we will do our best to facilitate the participation also via teleconference. We're asking that everybody mute their devices, cell phones, desk phones, anything that could interrupt the meeting. During the meeting, all public participants will be placed on mute. Well, that was during virtual meetings, but there will be a space for public participation throughout the meeting. And with that, let's call the meeting to order, being 5:31. Can we do the roll call, please?
Ms. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Freitas? Ms. Gutierrez? Mr. Brazil? Ms. Vielma?
Here.
Mr. Helm? Mr. Williams?
Here.
Ms. Dean? Mr. O'Brien? Ms. Austin Tibbetts?
Here.
Oh, Mr. Liba? And Mr. McLaughlin?
Here.
Through the chair, we have not met quorum.
Thank you. So we won't be able to vote, obviously. The minutes or any other of the items like the elections, also the approval of the 2023 goals and objectives. So we'll have to table those for our next meeting. So that means that we're going to go only on the reports that the staff will be presenting. But before then, are there any public comments on any of the offices?
Are there any public comments in Bakersfield?
There are no members of the public in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Are there any public comments from Modesto?
There are no public comments in Modesto.
We have no public members in the Fresno office or online.
Okay.
To the chair.
Yes.
On the AB 617 update, if there's nothing new on that couldn't wait till next month, that could be pushed forward unless there's something new.
Okay.
That's a standard item.
I know. But I also know that there were several important decisions that happened in the 3 steering committees that are in the region. So I would recommend that we keep it.
Okay.
But before that, just brief comments. As you see, we're struggling to reach quorum. So I encourage my fellow EJAG members to help reaching out to the people that are members of this committee to encourage them to attend, and also to fill the 2 vacancies that we have, both for the minority EJ business, and also there's an opening for Kern County, so for the primary member there. So if you all know anyone that might be able to apply, I will ask the clerk to send all of us that information so that we can reach out to our network. So thank you. I will move us to the APCO comments, Morgan.
Yeah, just a few. You touched on one, which was the vacancy. So I just wanted to mention that Dr. Baines, who had been serving as the Kern County at-large rep for a while, she recently resigned from EJAG. She was elected to the State Assembly, and so obviously that she's not going to have the time anymore to help with our work here. But that does leave an opportunity for Kern County. We currently have both that position as well as the ethnic small business owner position open with a current filing deadline of the 21st of February. So we're hopeful that we can get some interest in those. This is the 3rd time that we've had to have the ethnic small business owner position open. Under the bylaws, the bylaws basically say that if we're, for that specific position or those 2 positions, if we're unable to fill them after going through several recruitments, then we'd actually look to the CAC to appoint an industry representative or a business representative to the group. And so we've never had to do that before, but so we're hopeful that, you guys can use your connections and maybe have somebody to apply, but we'll have to talk about that if we go through this recruitment and aren't able to get somebody again, because I think it is important to have people on the committee so we can take action and have quorum. So that's that one. Wanted to welcome everyone back to the first in-person meeting we've had in a very long time. It's nice to have everyone here as we start a new year, and I hope everyone, I know it's late in the month, but hopefully everyone, wish everyone a happy new year. And then lastly, just a logistical issue. Adriana Majovich, who is back there, who had been serving in the role of our interim clerk to the board since September. She's transitioning back to her normal duties here at the district, and so Katrina Rojas is now been appointed to fill in as the interim clerk, and so that's who you'll be mainly in contact with, and we'll see emails coming from Katrina. And so I just wanted to, put a face with the name, and we'll definitely email out her contact information for, those who aren't here as well, so everyone has that. So that's the only updates I had for this evening.
Thank you, Morgan. So as I mentioned, we're not going to be able to vote on the vice chair, but if I may just make a comment on that. Before this meeting, I reached out to the current vice chair, Mr. Thomas Helm, and I asked if he would be interested in being nominated. He knew he was not going to be able to make it today, but he said he will be interested. So he will be back hopefully by the next meeting. So he's an interested candidate, but in case you can think of other people to nominate, we have between now and hopefully February, when is our next meeting, and we can decide that then. Okay, so the next update will be on attainment plans and rules.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Houlihan. I'm a supervisor with our plans and rule department here at the district. So first and foremost, I'd like to highlight a success. Under the Clean Air Act, the district was required to adopt a attainment plan for the 2015 ozone 8-hour NAC standard, and the governing board did adopt that plan in December. And then pleased to report that just this day, right before lunch, CARB also adopted that plan. So next it goes off to the EPA for inclusion into our SIP. So that's a huge success here. That's about 1,100 pages, and that's on our website if you'd like to take a look at that. From then, we're pivoting to the 2012 particulate matter plan, and under the Clean Air Act, that is required to be adopted by the end of this year, and we're on track to do that. So that kind of takes care of our plans updates. As far as rules, we are working on our LDAR suite of rules, which is leak detection and repair. And in conjunction with that, with those LDAR rules, we'll also be working on our SUMPS rule. The purpose of those rules is to limit VOC compound emissions from oil and natural gas production, processing facilities, associated wells, storage tanks, and sumps. We've already had a few workshops on those, and we had a scoping meeting in December on the sumps, and we hope to have a workshop on those in February. And that
Do you have a date?
What's that?
Do you have a date for that workshop?
We do not yet. Yeah, no, not yet. And that's about, if you have any questions or comments.
I have a question.
Okay.
So the PM 2.5 plan that you said needs to be completed by the end of the year.
Yes.
Are you going to organize any workshops where people can participate?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
I would, if possible, make a suggestion of having at least some of those workshops in the evening to allow for the participation of those community members that have day jobs that wouldn't be able to attend because it's in the middle of the day.
Okay.
And to, maybe, I know that if we request interpretation ahead of time is provided, but sometimes those community members are not aware of this. So maybe making it clear that if they need interpretation, they need to make that request ahead of time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, I have a question. but I'm gonna be gentle. Morgan, hang tight. So on the first party report, on the ozone plan that had ARB's SIP stuck in the middle of it, that we had a problem with at the CAC meeting. I did notice that the wording on the paperwork that was taken to the general governing board meeting was different than the wording in the paperwork that we saw at the CAC meeting. It had kind of been toned down a little bit. For those of you that don't know what that's all about, ARB are you familiar with it?
No.
So ARB had put into their SIP and then slipped it into our paperwork to get approved here. And there was one line that kind of really waved red flags for agriculture, where the head of ARB basically implied that they would be looking at areas of authority or defining authority, however you want to put it, by ARB over pesticides, which is the bailiwick of the Department of Pesticide Regulations, DPR. It's not an ARB area. And technically it's not. It's an ARB deal. Now, ARB can go to a DPR meeting and say, we have concerns about this or that or this or that. But they shouldn't have actual authority.
They do for toxic air contaminants. Some pesticides are considered toxic air contaminants, and I agree that they don't have authority over all pesticides. They don't regulate pesticides, but they do have authority over those that are classified toxic air contaminants.
But it was specifically referring that, what is the one, I don't have.
1,3D,
is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is actually already being addressed. DPR is already regulating that, getting ready to get rid of it.
My interpretation of that is that, so I think that what DPR does is it regulates until which levels you can use it so that it's safe. And that's something that is changing. The rulemaking is in the middle. But the way I understood what CAR put in their SIP was that they wanted to monitor that so that could contribute to the reduction of that we need to meet the standards for ozone, because these particular pesticide contributes to that, to ozone formation.
And what we wanted was to make sure that it wasn't so blanket that they could just start saying we have authority over this and this and this and this. It wasn't fine-tuned. That was the problem. So there were some issues with that, and there are going to still be some issues with that. There is an alert out with all the farm bureaus and with all of the ag departments in all the counties now that are ag counties. And so we're going to be watching it very, very closely. But that was the only thing I wanted to bring up, and we had that concern. Now, in this setting, this group would probably be more in line to be in favor of letting ARB have any authority they wanted. But we have to be, I always want to make sure that we're realistic about what's out there and how we affect the business, how we affect jobs, and still keep the air clean. And so I just want to go on record as saying that we want to make sure that we don't have departments overstepping on other departments. So we wouldn't want ARB starting to tell the Water Commission how to do what water rules to make or things like that, unless the state wants to change the laws and pass those authorities. But right now, that's not their authority. So I just wanted to say that was the only issue that we had with that. It's still being looked at. It's still being watched. And it's still being studied. And everyone in ag is looking at how do we make sure that this doesn't set a precedence that could actually end up hurting food production and jobs. And the jobs are going to mostly be in the low-income areas, be the ones most impacted.
But at the same time, I would say also that the pollution affects more the low-income people. Ozone and PM affects more, for instance, farm workers and other workers, than anybody like us that had the privilege to be indoors. So I understand the point of not overstepping. I agree with that. But to me, my interpretation of what CAR included was following their already granted authority over that particular air contaminant.
So we just need to see that.
Yes.
Because it's right now, it's just sort of very, very general and non-specific.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to get that, out there. It doesn't even have to go for any further discussion. I just want to make sure that we had that out there.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions or comments about this? See none? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, we just discussed and approved, is that what did we already do the spending plan recommendation?
Item number 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's number 9. That may be one that
We need to table?
we may table because it would probably be better to have that discussion
Okay.
right ahead of the vote.
Okay, and then, I know we cannot, approve the goals and objectives, but, Morgan, if you can just briefly point it at us, what were the, tweaks that, you and the rest of the staff recommended on what we had approved in our last meeting in August?
Yeah, so just last year we spent a lot of time on goals and objectives, and I think it was
The entire year?
I think it was a fruitful effort, so that's good. You know, as just a refresher for those of you who may be newer, I know we have some alternates here tonight, so that maybe hadn't been involved in the process. But each year, EJAG, consistent with the bylaws and the charge, develops and recommends a set of goals and objectives to kind of guide the work that EJAG does. Oftentimes, those are longer focused than just 1 year, and as things come up through the year, we kind of look at that as guiding the work. And then ultimately that recommendation goes to our executive director, who then, approves a final set of goals and objectives. And so I am happy to report back that after the October meeting where EJAG took, I believe it was unanimous action on the goals and objectives, or maybe, I forget. I'll always say unanimous. In my mind, it was unanimous, but our executive director has now approved the final version, and I will say that there was a little bit of tweaking to the new public health goal and objective that the committee made, but I think in spirit it's the same as it was. We didn't change at all the actual goal itself. We just in terms of the action items, I think we just took some action to simplify it a little bit and not be as prescriptive in terms of what those actions were. And I think it'll give room to work within that objective. And we talked to the chair about that as well. And I think that it makes for a good addition to the overall plan. And so at the next meeting, there's no formal action needed. Obviously we can't take it, but there's no formal action needed on these this year. But at the next meeting, we'll need to make a determination as whether or not we want to recommend any further tweaks or move forward with what we did this last year, and that'll obviously be up to you all as we consider those next year at the next meeting.
I just want to say great job by the district and getting it polished up for us, but still keeping the heart and soul of what we were looking to change in it, and it's a great document. I look forward to the next meeting voting in support of it.
I agree. I think it's ready to roll with it. Okay, so now let's hear from Miss Jessica. My favorite topic, AB 617.
Do I have an hour and a half to just chat? No, I'm just kidding. But I will be here for any and all questions. So if we want a deeper dive discussion, I'm happy to provide that. My name is Jessica Olson. I am the Director of Community Strategies and Resources with the district, and my department oversees what is a growing list of community projects and community work, but that certainly encompasses the implementation of AB 617 here at the district. So just as a reminder, there are 4 communities that we work in specifically selected for AB 617 by the state. That's Stockton up in the north, South Central Fresno here in the central region, and then we have 2 communities in Kern County, Shafter and Arvin Lamont. And today I just wanted to highlight a couple of successful community identified projects and just give you a quick update on where they are. And a lot of this has happened since we last spoke. So we are moving forward with school districts in Stockton and in South Central Fresno, and those that have been involved know that that was a heavy lift to get those folks to commit to replacing either natural gas or diesel school buses with all electric school buses. And that has been a big push, and we're really excited to move forward with that in both of those places. We are continuing to work in the other communities on those projects as well, but those are the two locations where we're furthest along. We continue to have lawnmower exchange events, and so far we've done over 500 mowers. We had an event probably 2 weeks after I last spoke with you all in South Central Fresno. These are just such great events, not only, of course, to get gas-powered lawnmowers out and electric lawnmowers for free to residents, but also to connect with residents and really share other resources about all the other grant opportunities, or just how to file a complaint or learn about your air quality. So those are always great opportunities. And then we do want to share that urban greening and vegetative barriers, these are big lists, big projects that require a lot of collaboration and a lot of work. And we were successful in having one proposal for each, the urban greening and the vegetative barriers project in South Central Fresno, move forward, meaning the subcommittee and the CSC have both agreed to and approved and supported moving forward with the contractors for that project. And we're really, really excited and grateful for all the work that went into that. Some ongoing community outreach. I'm just going to share with you kind of a flyer from each community. So this one on the left is related to that vegetative barriers and urban greening proposal. Really, it's not just about the CSC choosing and picking where we're going to plant trees, but it's really working within the community and touching base with all of the residents. So we're really looking forward to the partners on that project to help us with that. And that's a flyer that we created in partnership with the community several months ago to try to get the word out. We also just last week had a show and tell, and we're going to talk with the Fresno committee and the Stockton committee about this. We had this in Shafter, and it was an amazing way to connect residents visibly with what a heat pump or a gas fireplace looks like. That is the most common question of, like, what am I doing? Am I getting the most out of it? Really, the way that our program works is you go to the retailer, and so they oftentimes don't quite believe that they're going to get a free device, or they think they're being sold and upmarked the most expensive one, right? And so we had our folks there, we had retailers there, we had outreach materials, and it was just a successful connection with a lot of folks, and a way to get, we had 6 people from this event sign up to replace their fireplace, so we're really excited about that. Here on the left is another fireplace outreach. We did different things in different communities. We work with everyone to figure out what type of outreach works for them. I'm showing you the Spanish version, of course, but this is the Stockton community, and we created a flyer with the outreach committee that we have there and passed this out and gave it to community groups. And SB is one of those groups that helped us pass this flyer out and reach out to communities and really connect with folks and try to get them involved. And then finally, here on the right, this is actually an interesting collaboration. In Arvin-Lamont, our biggest and highest priority measure is working with DPR and to talk about pesticides. And we've successfully launched a subcommittee and had a lot of actions come out of that committee. This is the most recent one. We actually have a meeting on Tuesday to share this with the committee. There was an ask for a fact sheet on how to report if folks feel like they've been exposed. And so DPR worked with the district and CARB to create this fact sheet in English and Spanish and send it out to community residents. So just another example, not only of outreach, but of collaboration across agencies. I just want to highlight a couple of high priority incentives measures that we're going to be talking about in the next coming weeks with all the CSCs. One is residential air filtration. That measure was actually added to most of the SERPs because it was not originally in the SERP. And after the pilot program that we did this summer to get portable units into folks' homes, we realized that it was a big need, I think, in the communities, and we're really excited to get that going. We also have funding for EV mechanic training that we want to get launched pretty soon, as well as passenger vehicle replacement. Finally, I want to share something that we've been talking about with the committees, and sorry, it's a little small on here, but I wanted to share with folks just a comprehensive list of, or maybe not even quite comprehensive, maybe a shortened list, I'm sure there's more, of really great research that's being done in each of the communities to try to understand the health impacts of all of the work that we're all doing. And these are all very collaborative efforts. You can see the collaborators here in the third column. It's being done at least right now, in the 3 communities. I'm sure Arvin Lamont will be part of some of the other research that's ongoing. And we expect in the next couple of years to have some outcomes of those research. And I'd be happy to collaborate or report back to you all when we do have some items to share from that, because I certainly think that's a big piece of all of the work we do, is seeing how it changes and affects people. And that is all for my presentation, but I'm happy to take any questions.
I have. Thank you, Jessica. That was great. I have a couple. So we are good. Fresno Unified had actually said yes to the bus.
They said yes. We are working with them on all like the logistics and all of the paperwork.
How many are they receiving?
I'm gonna bring it. Maybe
it's to be determined.
To be determined. I think
we're still working on it with them.
More than zero.
Yeah, it's more than zero, but it's still they have some big needs at Fresno Unified as far as getting kids around and events in the sense. So it's tough. It's tough, but it's more than zero at this point in time. We're still working on it.
But right now, the only one that we have turned in was in Fowler, right? Not Fowler, but Malaga.
Malaga was kind of early action. We also have heard back from Central Unified.
Yeah, Central Unified as well they come into the community, so we're working with those.
So I think on like 4 buses in Central.
Okay, so we're probably going to reach our goal of, I believe it was 10?
16, I think was our goal.
We're really going to try. We're trying. We're really trying to. But yeah, there's some logistic things from the school bus side of it as far as moving kids around and make sure they have coverage there as well. So.
Okay. Jessica, you had mentioned sometime last year that you guys were considering doing like a convening of all the EJAG 617 communities. Have you decide when and where and all that?
We are still exploring options. A lot of folks have come to us and expressed interest in kind of including youth voices in a lot of the work that we're doing. So we're maybe not necessarily, of course, at this point, aiming for anything this spring, because that now is too soon. But yes, we are still looking to do something like that. And we'll definitely connect with you and others that I know I initially reached out to. And report back to you all when we have something scheduled so we can collaborate on that. That is still the goal, but it might expand a little bit and be a little broader to include kind of the Valley and maybe some youth voices, maybe kind of cross-educational opportunities.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions. Any questions?
I just have some probably commonsensical, but not urgent questions. I love the presentation. So is everyone being really careful that we don't overbuild capacity or oversell capacity? In other words, you don't want to have more buses out there than you have enough energy to charge up. You want to have backup power. Are the school districts also going to be offered a way to charge those buses?
Absolutely.
Even if the power goes down, maybe and if we had bad weather, solar might not even do it, but you could have a generator system if you had to.
Yeah. So I think
runs on
generally some of the concerns that some of the schools had was infrastructure, and so we're trying to make sure there's a way that we can fund. We actually separately outside of the SERPs added funding from CAP Community Air Protection Funds to fund school bus infrastructure across any disadvantaged community in the Valley.
We don't want kids staying home because buses can't run.
And the infrastructure at a school district through this program is 100% paid for.
So what is the backup power source for power for the buses? If there's a rolling blackout that affected their ability to charge, is there something being put in place where they can still charge their buses?
At this time, I do not know.
Because a battery backup system would be really logical with generators, and they're not that super expensive. It wouldn't take that much to generate, some 12,000 watt generators, kick them on, charge those buses up. It's kind of like that silly meme on the computer where you have the Prius going down the street with a gas generator sitting on the back, charging it while they drive. But it's really not, because it's just like if we're going to go all electric in the state. People on medical equipment need to be able to have some sort of backups in their house, even if it's a battery system where if the grid goes down, boom, the batteries kick in and their machines keep running. So that's all I was going to say was, have you guys looked at that, or can you look at that?
I will also just add to Aaron's point earlier is all of this these are the types of questions we get from school districts about range, whether or not they can charge, has come up, say in a power outage, but even just say they're driving and they get caught out somewhere and, they're running on battery and the battery runs out. So that's kind of safety concerns they've all shared with us. So we've definitely been working with them and sharing other successful stories across other school districts who have done large deployments across the valley, Modesto being one of them, and just offer that, that sharing that connection and offering kind of that cross talk between the school districts to see
Well,
how
if
they
you
can
get your
work.
engineering people involved and you work with them on their routing, you could actually help them plan the routes and the size of buses they would use. You don't need a 60-seater bus when you're bringing back 6 students. And so, I mean, there's so many things that could be done to make the system work and not have to have such huge, I mean, so I would definitely incorporate an engineering and design with each district and helping them design the system and the needs of each route by route and size of the deal. One of the things that has always scared me was the average car in an AM/PM gas station with 16 pumps is 5 minutes. They can roll through about 2,000 cars a day. If you tried to do that with all electric only, you would need 96 chargers at an average charge time of 30 minutes to get the same 2,000 cars through. And the amount of power that they're using, correct me if I'm wrong, but they said it was like thousands and thousands of homes worth of electricity just to run that one charging gas station for the day. So we don't have that problem with the schools. The good thing is that they can be set up and whatever is needed, engineering can design that, and then you can have people that work with them to help them design their routes and the needs of each route by route. That would really make a huge difference. Just an idea.
Thank you, Derek. Any other comments or questions for Jessica?
This is SB. I had just in terms of a comment also on the school district for Stockton Unified. There was also a big hurdle. So, I'm really happy with the report that, we're finally able to get those through. I know that Nate Nod is now serving as the Director of Transportation for Stockton Unified School District. Prior to that, he was serving as a community member on AB 617 steering committee. So I think that it was, very helpful. He's a very knowledgeable person. He was in retirement, and they took him out of retirement to serve as the Director for Transportation for Stockton Unified. But having the background knowledge of AB 617 as a community member, then, it was like an immediate decision that was going to be made in terms of moving forward that the electric buses there for Stockton Unified. So I just wanted to comment, for those members that weren't aware of, that was the struggle we had going on there. And so it correlated from a community member to then serving and being the Director of Transportation for the school district. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
You got lucky. We didn't have that luck, but what happened? What did the miracle?
You all helping us get the meetings with the right people in the room. We had meetings with trustees and with some of the higher level folks at the district, and that really was a community driven effort. We did it over a course of a couple years, and so just like SB's story, it's just slightly different, but it still was community driven.
So I had one last question. So unlike with the cars and with the semi trucks and so forth, could we look at not crushing the old buses or selling them out, but actually maybe keeping a number of buses in reserve that were the clean burning, propane burning ones, natural gas burning ones, CNG buses? They're so clean that why not have at least enough of them as backup that you could still function if something happened power-wise?
From my understanding, I mean, based on all of the funds that we get, we have to adhere to certain guidelines. And from my understanding, the CAP guidelines require us to crush.
The other requirement is that in order for you to claim reductions, you have to get rid of the existing.
So wasteful. It's got to be. There's no
we
place to go to
verify
change that,
and it's done.
There's no way to change that, or no place to go to change that. I think anybody makes a rule can change a rule if they say, "Oh, that makes sense."
That's CARB, and that's a pretty hard and fast rule that if you're going to replace something with a grant program, the old piece of equipment must go away, must be permanently go away, because that's the only way to do a grant program, basically permanent, is one of the staples of the grant program.
Let's get CARB to store the vehicles. Then they can have a yard and they can store the vehicles and keep them in reserve. That way they know nobody's using them.
But that's a tough lift.
Yeah. It'd be a tough sell, but it makes sense.
Jessica, one last question. I'm sorry. Flipping through the PowerPoint. Can you explain what is the public benefit grant program under the advanced transportation item? It is slide 11, 2023 fiscal year spending plan, advanced transportation vehicles.
I don't have a slide 11.
Oh, never mind. This is the recommendations for incentive.
Spending plan.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I haven't seen it in our meeting, so I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. My apologies. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, we're gonna break record here. Oh my God, are you excited? What are you gonna do with all this full and hour that you have at your hand?
Drive home and pack for my trip tomorrow.
Okay, well, any ideas of potential topics that we need to discuss in our future meeting or meetings?
Maintain 617, of course.
Okay, maintain 617. Per popular request, Jessica, you're back next month.
And then everything we didn't do tonight has to come back next time, and that pretty much fills our agenda, I would say.
Okay. Any other items?
This is SB. I, maybe not for this next meeting because it's gonna be full, like Derek said, but in the future, if we can maybe have a report out on, the transforming Modesto, the Zanta.
Transforming Modesto?
It's the Zansef grant, and we just had the, like the showcase with,
The Frito-Lay project?
yeah, with Frito-Lay, correct.
The Frito-Lay project?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we've shared that project here in the past. I think we can provide an update on that.
Yeah, I think it would be great just because now there's a video of everything that took place, and then if it's this next meeting or the following meeting, there'll be the additional footage that'll have been put together by Ketchum, and then we can send out some of the stuff that we'll have through social media for that. But I think that it would be great to share that with the rest of the members.
Through the chair, I think we could handle it next meeting because some of these things are gonna be real fast and easy.
Well, and I want to put in our radar, not for our next meeting, but for our April meeting, I would like to request that we carve out some time for a group of students from the Center for Advanced Research and Technology that are working on a project on air pollution, to come and present some of their work and findings. It will be like the one we had last year, obviously, another set of students, and it will be a 10-minute presentation.
Oh, okay. And then one thing that I brought this up at the last meeting, I think, and I want to bring it up again so we don't forget, but at some point in time, whenever the district feels the right time, I think we still need to have our ethics training because that's a state deal, if I'm not mistaken. For at least if anybody's taking any money, I'm not, but I know the ethics
Are you
thing.
sure?
And then also the other one would be the Brown Act. Did we do the Brown Act thing already? We already did that, didn't we? A little.
We talked about Robert's rules. We haven't talked about the Brandon. We're talking to our attorneys about that yet. On the ethics training side, it's only required if members are getting paid a stipend or receiving travel expense. So EJAG members are eligible to receive travel after they have taken the ethics training. If they're interested, let us know and we can set that up. Currently, right now, I don't believe it's been a while since we've had somebody who's been interested in receiving the stipend. And so we've done that in different ways too. We've done it where it's either like a self-study thing where someone can go take it like online, or we've done it here at the meeting too. It just kind of depends on.
I think Special Districts has a class that you can take.
Yeah, I believe so.
Through
Yeah.
here. And then, but what about the Brown Act? Should we have a Brown Act review at some point?
We also took something online. I remember taking it.
Yeah, I'll like I said, we brought this up recently with our council. I need to follow back up with her to see where we're at with that. So I'll make a note to get back to y'all on that.
Just to know if we are all, in compliance or we need to retake it. Okay, any additional comments from EJAC members?
There was just one, I'll put on the radar. I mean, Mr. Freitas had sent an email, with a potential, item as well that I'm not sure if we'll have time for it next time, and maybe he'll want to bring it up in the next meeting, but just to put on everyone's radar. He had asked for an update on the district's alternative to ag burning program and the phase out of ag burning and the grant program that kind of goes along with that. And so, that's definitely something that, over the next couple of meetings, we can do if there's interest in that as well. There's one other one that we may talk about. The district recently received, what is it, $6 million on the lawnmower?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, $6 million of state money, to facilitate the change out of commercial lawn and garden equipment to zero emissions. And that's, with the state law that was passed or state regulation that was passed a couple of years ago, we've been working hard to try to help commercial operations as they are required to make that transition. And a lot of those operators are in environmental justice communities, either operate there or are part of those communities, reside in those communities. So it may be something that worth you all knowing about. So as you're doing your work within the communities, you can, if someone has questions or knows, you at least know about that program. So
Blowers work great. Well, just make sure.
No, I have one, I know.
I had two.
I don't use it, but my husband enjoys it. I have one more request. Now that you were mentioning about communities, benefiting from this, one thing that I heard so many good comments, but also more questions, was for the air filters that were given last year. Unfortunately, word spread, so one person got it, the neighbor didn't, and she was asking me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, they're close with that program, but just if it might be possible. I know it's going to happen in the AB 617 communities, but I think that there's a need across the region, right? So if there's a way of bringing it back, I heard a lot of interest.
How do they do it? Do they do it with vouchers and you can go down to Lowe's and get?
No,
the size
they
you need?
send the thing directly to the homes.
Just tell them what size you need.
It was a standalone air purifier that just
Oh.
was plug and play. So we sent them directly to the homes.
We're really well oversubscribed fast in almost all counties.
Yeah, we have the same thing through the chair. We have the same thing on our end of the valley as well, as far as like people requesting, because it was really fast and furious as far as them getting them. And then once they realized, and yeah, everybody wanted them. So anything along those lines would be helpful.
Okay, so you have plenty of topics. We don't have any comments, I believe. So we're going to adjourn our meeting being 6:12. And our next meeting will be Thursday, February 23rd. So don't get excited. It's not until April. It's next month at 5:30 p.m.
I do